here it is. An absolutely beautiful late fall morning, Saturday morning, 9 o'clock, and you're looking at my latest acquisition, an early 40s Chevrolet G506, I believe, military truck. I've smelled in the gas tank, and judging from how much the tires are sunk in the ground and the date on the battery that was in it, I'd estimate it's been somewhere between 5 and 15 years since it's run. So I'm going to attempt to get it started and see if I can get loaded and take my prize home. I'm going to start out by pulling the plugs, putting some oil in the cylinders. I know the engine is free because when I was here and looked at it first, I just grabbed the fan blade and I got it to turn just a little bit. So I'm going to get at it. You can see the plugs don't look too bad. They all look about the same, a little black, a little on the dark side, but it's an old carbureted truck. I got oil in all the cylinders. Now I'm going to hook a battery up and see if she'll crank over. Here's something that's a little interesting. I disconnected the battery wire from the regulator, so I was isolating the charging system because I'm going to be using a 12-volt battery to start it, and I just wanted to isolate the charging system in case I wind up using it and don't want to take a chance of damaging anything. You younger guys may not know it, but you older guys, about generators, how they have to be polarized or they should be polarized when you disconnect the battery or the generator or regulator. When you connect it back up, you should polarize it, because if you don't, sometimes they won't charge. And they have the instructions for polarizing it right on the voltage regulator. Nowadays, you get paper instructions with stuff in about 8 different languages. But I like this where they have the instructions right on the item. I've never seen that before. Interesting. So I'm going to see if it'll crank now. There's the handy battery clamp. And look at this. It comes with the shoes for the snowplow, and it even has the reflector kit in the truck. Now, this has a foot starter. I'm going to hit it. Let's see what happens. Sounds good. Oh, that looks good. I'm going to put the plugs back in. Now let's see. We don't even need a key. This one says IGN, so that'd be ignition. Let's just, for the heck of it, flip it on, and I'm going to crank it over. I haven't even filed the points or had the cap off, but the link belt started without doing that. I'm just going to flip the switch on and crank it and see if by any chance it has spark. Okay, now I got the distributor cap off. I turned the switch on, and you can see there's spark there. So if I file the points, I'll probably have spark.
Does that feel good to you? What?
This doesn't surprise me.
Well, it always feels good to me when something works and it's...
This isn't a surprise to me. When you said about a long-range plan, I don't know where I saw it on a TV program, or I think it was a commercial at one time or whatever. And they're talking to these 7- and 8-year-olds about the future or whatever, what their plans are. And one kid says, "My plan is to be forced into early retirement."
To be forced into early retirement. Oh, funny.
I thought that was kind of hilarious. Yeah, I decided to take the carburetor off and fill the float bowl with gas. see if it'll run longer, and then maybe the fuel pump will start to pump up.
So one thing I've never really had the knowledge of is mechanicals like that.
Oh, I started out young. I rebuilt the engine on one of my dad's tractors when I was 12 years old.
Oh my.
Well, I don't know. Put in new rings and bearings and sleeves and stuff. I was 12.
Well, that's how you start, I guess.
My mother says, I don't remember it, but she says the first time I told my dad how to fix something on the farm, I was 4. And my sister tells me, my younger sister has told me that as long as she could remember, I fixed everything on the farm. So,
that's funny.
So, you know, they talk about stuff, you know, it's like it was in my blood, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Just part of who you were.
Yeah.
And are. Yeah. Jan's uncle was like that. My God.
Well, I had a old neighbor of mine, Alan Rudolph, where I got a lot of my old equipment from when they cleaned out the estate. And one of the things he said to me was, I mean, and this applies to everything. He says, don't ever let anyone tell you can't do something, because how do you know if you didn't try?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, there's people who say, oh, I don't know how to do that.
Oh,
well,
right. Yeah.
I mean, if you try and you can't do it, and you don't have the knack for it, fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But
no, exactly. You got to try.
He went through the 6th grade, and then at some point later on, he must have had to pass some kind of test or something, because after that formal education, the next formal education he had is he went to Milwaukee School of Engineering for a while.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah.
So he must have had some knowledge to get into there.
Oh, for sure.
Even with only 6 grades.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's pretty prestigious.
And he always said, an engineer can design something to do anything, he says. But the true engineer is the one who can do it with the fewest moving parts.
There you go. Yeah.
You know, because there's a lot of things people make way more complicated than it would have to be.
Over-engineered. Yeah, you bet. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Let's see if it makes some more noise again. Now I hooked up a little gravity feed tank to probably gravity feed gas to the carburetor. Let's see if we can keep it running. Now it looks like it's trying to pump gas out of the fuel line. So I'm going to put something on there to catch that and turn the other tank back on and see if I can run it some more, get fresh gas coming through the fuel pump. Now I have my gravity feed to the carburetor. I have my auxiliary tank hooked up to the fuel pump and a catch can to catch it out of the line, so I try and see if it'll pump fresh gas out through the line. Now I'm going to hook the fuel pump line from the auxiliary tank back up to the carburetor. Now I'm going to dump coolant in it. Hopefully it don't run out anywhere. I don't think it will. This thing looks like it was taken care of pretty good. Well, it didn't even take a whole gallon. So I'm sure it had antifreeze in it, so it didn't freeze. So now we're gonna see if it'll run again. Oh. I better take my tablet down before it falls off the fender. Well, it has good oil pressure. Let's try it again. I don't know. The plugs weren't that dirty. I don't know why it should be backfiring so much. People will ask me how something runs. I say, well, it's 80 years old. If it don't know how to run by now, when will it? Well, there it is.
Hopefully it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, ready for the trip home.